And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Analyst Desk. It's game number 1 of our second play day here of APAC North. It's Guts Gaming versus TALON. And we're going to dig into these two, starting up with Guts Gaming, our Japanese squad. Jess, can you please shed some light on this team and what they have to offer today?
Well, we gave a little bit of inkling as to what had happened in the last play. They decided to go to Chalet, fair enough, but it's not a map that I like to judge a team on, let's say. Also, Coastline is another map that I don't like to judge a team on. You know, overall, holistically, whether or not they're a good strategic or gunning team, we can put that to the side. However, they did manage to go to OT. They did manage to win that OT, but it doesn't give them the full 3 pointers that they're looking for. And for yet another middle pack team, they're hoping to break away from the chains, from the curse of being a middle pack team. I think the likelihood of them making things like the Major or Six Invitational have slowly dwindled, but that does not mean that they can't solidify their spot here in APAC North for yet another year, and that's what they're looking to do. 1 overtime win against FAV, that's good. Now let's see if they can do it again here in this matchup and get that full regulation 3 points today, because they're not looking too bad. A
distinct possibility today or not, Fresh?
A distinct possibility. I think obviously map dependent. It's like you said, it's a period of consolidation probably for Guts to just consolidate into next year and then give next year a really good run. They've got off to a good start, and they're against a team that are in a relegation place, a team that you think probably should be beating. So I think they've got a good chance today, yeah.
Well, let's talk about then Talon, their opponents, Fresh. What can they bring to the table today against their Japanese opponents of Guts?
They looked actually pretty decent last week against Damwon Kia. It was just Damwon Kia came in the late game and kind of blew them away, but they went down early, and then they got, I think it was about 5 rounds in a row on Clubhouse. They showed a lot of resilience, and I think for Talon it's kind of the resilience, and then obviously they made some changes. Demic kind of settled in pretty well. Kind of Heady had a bit of an underwhelming performance, so you'd be looking to him for a little bit of experience and a little bit more.
Oh, you say that. I'm just hoping that it's more that we can't see, that the stats can't grab. You know, I'm hoping it's the communication, the leadership, the intel. I'm shilling a little bit because I know the kind of, you know, experience and leadership that he has. I'm hoping he's giving it, because let's not throw, you know, beat around the bush here. They had a really good showing against Damwon Kia, even though they lost, even though it was a throw in the end. I would say that that is some of their best showing thus far.
It is a pretty impressive game. We all saw Damwon Kia at the Mexico Major, and before that, during Stage 2, you're expecting a lot of that team, so to take them to OT is already pretty impressive. But again, some people will say it's the first game, the opener of the stage, and these big teams coming back from playing on LAN, even though it was Damwon Kia's first time ever doing that. You know, you got to take some time to reset, get your head back in the game. Who knows? That's why we give them, like you said earlier, Jess, you know, 2-3 games by Playday 3. Okay, then we can be more, okay, this is the expectation. You've had 3 weeks to go through it. No more excuses at this point, especially in Stage 3. None of that. We can afford you that early in the year, but not here anymore. Though, which map will we be on? Again, 7-map pool, 6 down and 1 to go for this, and it'll be Clubhouse banned out by Talon, which means we go to Cafe Dostoevsky. Their pick starting on defense. So Guts opted for an attacking start on Cafe, despite having the side pick. Fresh, your thoughts?
I know why Des has been smirking in the predictions now, because in Stage 2, these two played each other on Cafe, and Talon did win.
Yeah, they did.
And he's the only one to have predicted Talon. The attacking side it's a tactic that you often see BDS use in EUL, which is start on the attack, get 3 or 4 attacks, and put the defensive team under pressure, switching it out into the second half. I like it a lot. I think it's very underrated as a tactic to choose attack. And you often see teams that choose attack often have a little bit up the sleeve in terms of counter analysis as well.
Well, they have about 60-40% split between winning their defenses, so 60%, and then 40% for their defenses. So they're not necessarily an attacking-sided team on Cafe, but we did just reference the very last Playday. Where did they kick off? It was on their attack. So maybe they're hoping they can bring that same oomph, that same panache that they started on Playday 1 against Damwon Kia, and they could just bring it into this match and redo it all. And you're right, maybe that will give them a leg up in the second half. It didn't against Damwon Kia, but but that is a formidable opponent that can chain rounds under that kind of stress.
Actually, we have some EPP stats to talk about here, just because we're still waiting for our lobby to be set up. And here's the top 2 EPPs on the team. The expected player performance. We always take expected player performance plus cost to talk about these players, and it's Yura and Aziz. So what do we learn from this here, Jess?
Big thing that we wanted to point out was both of these players are the highest EPP rated players for their team, and they are both over the expected player average, which is 100. So anyone over 100 is doing their job, and they're trying to add a little bit extra salt and spices on top, which both Aziz and Yura are doing. Big thing for me is that Yura's stepped up here in stage 3 so far. Yes, one match, not a big sample pool, but Aziz is the kind of one we expect for the flashy kind of kills and plays, and Yura's kind of outdoing him at the moment.
What I liked about Aziz, though, was you see the main attacker there, Sledge. The amount of grenade kills he was getting on Sledge last week was absolutely incredible. So if you want to watch out for something in this game, it's Aziz and the grenade kills.
Do you think there's something else they have to think about?
Oh, stop it.
You know it, though. How many times have we seen Finka over the past few days? There's 3 playdays that we have so far between all of us that work the show here.
Yeah.
We saw EU, we saw APAC, and Finka was a fairly present operator, not gonna lie.
We do have to preface that statement with the fact that Doki said it best in his interview. Finka is now super viable because she has a Gon 6, which can destroy Banshees, etc., Maestro cams, and she now has her grenades back. She also has the spear, which, if you're not sure which one that is, it's the one that Thunderbird has on defense. It's the, assault rifle, and it sounds a little, like it packs a punch when you shoot it. So that's the one that people are mostly using outside of the LMG for that one. So that's why a lot of people are bringing her. And they actually don't like her boost because it does negate all of the recoil. And for pro players that are used to controlling that, they're just going to pull down and all of a sudden they're shooting the floor. So if you see something funky, it might just be a Finka boost.
I think the changes about Finka is different teams are playing her for different reasons.
Yeah.
APAC has always liked her, especially with the LMG. Whereas EU's kind of find it more because she kind of does a lot of things now, especially with the Gon 6, as you mentioned. So she's finding a different place in different regions meta, and that's what I really like about Finka.
There's a lot that you can
for
fit now.
Fresh. Like the moment we bring up Finka, he's like, all right, get me in.
I was playing it in ranked last night as well. I love
How'd
the
you
operator. Very well.
Do you warn your teammates when you're going to boost for the recoil? Oh, you are the worst team at Elevate.
To be fair, I play with Ace a lot and it helps him out, so...
Oh, because he can't control his recoil?
Yeah.
Oh.
I cannot wait to see what he has to respond to that. So, Fresh Jess, thank you very much. Let's see how Guts Talon goes. It's Cafe Dostoyevsky. We're going to have to snowy Moscow for this, and we've got Ace and Des to take us through it. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Milosh. Now, recoil might not be on Ace's list of forte, but planting...
There's no recoil on that diffuser case, Des.
That's exactly
Let me tell you that! You don't need to worry about it when you're planting.
He's got it. Or droning. The man's the support guy you need in your stack, apart from maybe last night, but we won't reference that one too much, will we, Ace?
Leave it out, Des. Leave it out. Well,
Everyone needs a warm-up game, Ace, is all I'm going to say. Everyone needs a warm-up game.
Well, all that... So I AFK'd, didn't pick the hard breach, and team killed the actual hard breach. I was a bit of a secret agent that round, it's fair to say. But let's get back to the game at hand. Cafe Dostoyevsky is where we're going to show down. It's going to be Guts versus Talon. Interestingly, as the analysts have picked up on, we saw this matchup last time around, so we've got quite a direct comparison, although Talon do have a couple of different players in the roster this time, Des. Last time out, we saw Flores and Valkyrie banned by the side of Guts. We'll see who they go with this time, Thatcher being the first pick from Talon. But just an interesting little stat that I want to throw at you before we get there. It was 7-4, Des. Guts on the losing side of that. They only got the 4 rounds. The only time they won a round, every one of their 4 rounds, was when they got the opening kill. And they only got 4 opening kills. It was literally those rounds were the rounds that they won. So the entry battle could be something to really keep an eye on today.
I also want to throw back at you. If you look at the ratings for all the players, Valkyrie coming out.
Florence Valkyrie.
There you go, beautiful. I want to throw back at you some stats about how the players themselves performed as well. It was arguably one of the best games out of Talon. Four of their players above a 1.0 rating. I think the lowest was 0.93 or something like that. It was one of their greatest games at the stage where players like Aziz, Soldier, really popping off and making themselves heard. And that's not something that we see week to week normally throughout Stage 2, so far in Stage 3. This needs to be another lights out performance because to me, although the predictions are quite clear cut, this was the hardest game to call. And I said to Fresh back in the green room, I wouldn't be surprised if today two of the predictions I've gone for go the wrong way. This game being one of them. Guts were marginally better than Fav last week. Talon, despite losing, still looked good. So both have got the elements to win, I think, but it's getting the secret sauce together at the last minute, and it's going to require that consistency of performance across the team, I think.
It's going to be a tough game for either of them to walk away with all 3 points here inside of the regulation 12 is not going to be an easy task. Now, starting us off, we are going to have Talon defending the reading room, and the last look back to that performance last stage that I'll make is, you've mentioned the player performances on the side of Talon, Des. If we look at Guts, it wasn't that great. It wasn't that great. To say that it was a 7-4, nobody got into double figures in terms of kills. That was a big problem. And it was a persistent problem for Guts last year. I picked up on it. Coming in, their leading kills for Stage 2 was 61. The leading kills for the entire league in terms of the Stage 2 was over 80. So their top fraggers were over 20 kills behind the pace, Des. And that is inside of just 7 games. That is a long way behind. And in week 1, Playday 1 for Guts, we saw a lot more frags coming out. That has to continue here. We're looking towards Lily. We're looking towards Light. We're looking towards Euro. We need those 3 players coming out and having a big game here if they want a different result on Cafe.
Already seeing the electrified mirror coming out as well on the top floor, looking into storage, plus an extension from mining in towards red. Well, looking from train into mining and then upwards into red. So quite an extended setup, both horizontally and vertically, coming out of the side of Talon. Not something that we're, I wouldn't say dissimilar with or not so much familiar with. Have seen some teams like to often play up on the top floor. This one a little bit different coming out of Azzy, and we'll see how long he lasts. This is where Guts have the opportunity, I feel, to get busy with Euro, the player who I always say pops off and finds 1, 2, 3 kills around or just loses every entry fight in a game. I'm hoping this is one of those games where he does come up big because Guts need it.
Interesting point to pick up on here. JJ has got the Hibana shotgun, Des. We'll see how that one plays out. No rifle on the Hibana. Going to be reliant on that secondary give or take unless can manipulate some CQC engagements. I'm not sure if that's going to be a purposeful choice or maybe it's a leftover loadout or something. Who knows? That could be one of those where you load in and think, why have I got the shotgun? Almost like there's been a challenge on or something, Des. You know, I do it every time. It's always suppressors for me. I always load in with a suppressor on Thatcher every single time, and it's because of the challenge on Stadium however long ago now. Merio manages to get that opener onto Canos. Let's see if Guts can continue the trend that they had last time on Cafe, which was to win those rounds where they got the opening kills. It's been levelled out pretty quickly as we see Euro going by the wayside. 4 versus 4. We're coming into that final minute now then. Guts, they've got control over the top floor pretty much. They're opening up those vertical angles, looking pretty comfortable up there. Now they need to make it. They need to find the advantage from that. They need to get the dividends out of it, and that is getting enough control to get this diffuser down on the ground. JJ has it in hand, so maybe he's not going to need that primary weapon after all.
It's going to be a classic setup here as well. Some on the top floor, 2 waiting outside doorway looking to push in and plant, but they aren't going for the door itself. They're planting really deep. They must know about the Pillars player that was behind them just a few seconds ago because he could come off with a big flank here, but he isn't going to push his way around. I think the air jabs have dissuaded him. Plant goes down there quite comfortably for Guts, and Talon, they have got the numbers advantage and need to bring this one back. JJ into a 3 versus 3, and I think for the side of Talon this might be a little bit of panic. They're the ones who've got to move fast. They know there's a man inside of the laundry, but a little bit too deep there. I don't think it's going to scare the man away. As he going dangerously low, down goes Heady. Guts might have done enough. Demic finding one shot from the... Hello! Oh! Thank God he closes the round out. That is why you don't bring a shotgun ace.
I think JJ's maybe just learnt a bit of a lesson there, whether it was a mistake or not. I don't think that shotgun will be making another appearance on the Hibana. But luckily for him, Merio was in position to be able to close that one out. Now, Merio was a player that I picked up on last week as well, Des, to say, just what is his contribution here? How much is he bringing? He brings a lot of experience to the table, but he had a good break away from competitive Siege as well. And given his performance last stage, he was coming in as a flex player, maybe not picking up as many frags as they might have liked. And I was just wondering, is he just needing a bit more time to get back in and get up to speed with competitive Siege since he left? Now, he's just come up big for them then when they needed him. 3-0, coming in on the Ash, trying to get those frags. That's what I want to see from Merio. Get in there, use that experience. He will be very good at predicting player positions. He'll be very good at picking up on those small signals that will give him the advantage in a gunfight. So let's get that used more. Guts going well in the first round, and the trend continues, Des. Opening kill to Guts, round to Guts.
It was very clinical on the default, right? From the point of the execute down to the pacing of the round, they get the top floor control by about the 1 minute remaining mark. Merriu with the opening kill on the Ash, the one that really opened up that top floor control as Cocktail had been cleared out. That mirror window, barely a concern for them. Now down inside of Kitchen. So just like you might like to see sometimes. And that shotgun is going to stick, by the way, Ace.
Well, it wasn't a mistake.
Deliberate, I mean, okay, we'll take it. The thing is, I don't hate it where, like, in their case, they're not bringing something like a sledge here. They are relying on the breaching charges coming out of the Ash and the Zofia. Why not bring along a shotgun where you can afford to?
There's nothing wrong with a shotgun on attack. The problem is, and the reason that you don't see it very often, is logically, when you're approaching an attack, you're generally challenging long angles because you're the one that's in charge of closing that ground down. Whereas as a defender, you can force CQC situations because you can plant yourself in a position and you can say, this is where I'm going to play, and I've only got close angles to watch. Exactly. They have to play into me. But as the attackers, you can't try and force those close angles because the clock is against you. You can't sit and wait for somebody to approach your area that you've set up with close angles. So it's a lot more difficult for the attackers to find that success with the shotguns, I think, and that's why we don't see them too often. And you don't really need that soft breaching capability the same. They're
basically not relying on nades is the big difference, and that's a change from the meta that we currently see where some teams bring 4 or 6. Here they really want the Ash and the Zofia, so it's almost like a blast back to the past there before the grenade meta really became a thing that we currently sit in. Soldier finding Lilion is pushing through the single doorway. Good start, but can he convert anymore? One drops in front of him, but Merriu manages to find the kill. Soldier almost finding a second onto Merriu, who's now down to about 20 HP.
I mean, I'd honestly personally prefer to see somebody bring the book along rather than have the Hibana shotgun. I mean, maybe JJ will prove me wrong and will come in with a bunch of kills. The secondary is not terrible. It's not the end of the world. He's managed to find himself 2 so far, so there is that. But we'll see how it continues. We'll see how useful it is as we go.
I do like how for JJ, it's kind of the admission of you're playing a more passive game. He's doing a U-Tim. He's like, look, forget about the gunfights. Get me in sight. I'll get that diffuser down, and then I'm holding some close range angles. So although I know what you're saying about the sledge and the book, I think it's a nice innovation.
Give it a whirl.
Change.
Let's give it a whirl.
Exactly. And if they win, great. If they don't, then, well, let's just blame them and say it was terrible.
Then why did you bring the shot?
It's the easy answer that comes out, no doubt. Their focus now coming in towards getting this freezer opened up. The 2 towards the top is because that does actually allow you still to run through. There's a very specific way you can do it where you have a 4 and a 2 that does enable you to still crouch walk through a wall, but it is very, very specific in terms of height. Demet finding one back the other side, and now Guts once again are in a 4 versus 3, but that didn't stop them in the previous round getting the plant down, Ace.
JJ looking to move himself into start taking the challenge with that secondary, and it's those sorts of fights that he might just struggle to win out on. Merio managing to find the kill onto Canos there, levels things up 3-3, 14 seconds left to go, and Guts, they've got to get moving. Aziz finds light, and it just feels like it's starting to fall apart for the Japanese side now as Demic manages to find that kill onto Merio. It's all up to JJ, and with a secondary in hand, it was always going to be a huge ask. He's found from the court check, he is shut down on the kitchen door, and that is going to be Talon leveling things up 1-1. And dare I say it, I think we're in for a close game, Des. These two very evenly matched so far, and I think it could be a bit of a classic.
This may have been the case of the error of this comp they've got, right? Because normally you'd have a sledge hanging upstairs, say, to go for the drop through the hatch, but with the only real clear of the vertical floor they had left, being the Hibana, she'd already dropped down. She was down the bottom of white, and that meant the mute jammer inside of Freezer was still present. Those X-Kairos didn't go off, and it forced the remaining members of Guts with such little time remaining to push their way up through Restaurant, down and towards the red double door, and we all saw how things closed out from there. So I think a small mistake with the Hibana realizing, for JJ at least, there wouldn't be enough time left to get back upstairs and remove the jammer. Just goes to show how small things like a wall being jammed can completely affect the outcome of a round. But at the very least, it means Talon are on the board, and we've got a game on our hands, Ace.
We certainly do, and that is what we always want to see. Heading up to the top floor, then it's a site that I've commented on a couple of times defensively. Regions like EU have struggled a little bit to successfully defend the top floor of Cafe. APAC,
I know how much that aggravates you, Ace.
and they keep going back there as first choice. But with APAC, it's not too much of the same case. They've had a little bit more success up here, so we'll see how it goes. I mean, third choice site essentially for Talon. They've gone through a couple of others before they've come here, and honestly, I think as time progresses, we might just see this being more of the rotation. I think Reading and Kitchen being the primary two sites, with Bar and Cocktail as your third choice if needed. But we've got a pretty standard setup. Always find it interesting when the bar back storage wall is opened up a little bit. They've reinforced one side, and you can just see on the right hand side of it there a little bit more of adjustment, but it's just going to allow the peaks coming out from that bar back storage. Sometimes we'll get a deployable shield in there as well, just to help whoever's playing in there to try and hold that angle. Thank you very much. It's just going to give a nice line of sight through onto the double door if they breach the top of red stairs and try to move through. It just makes it very difficult to push in and take control of Piano.
Yeah, I love that it's kind of an extra ADS being stacked up there as well, because there's no yeeting grenades in, for example, or concussions being sent through to burn out those ADSs, because they are being protected by the laser gates. So a nice little adaptation coming out. And you and I have faced this so many times in Ranked Taste, having to go and clear out that pesky mute jammer that's currently on the double wall inside of Piano. Should be Mario in there to deal with that one now, and they can carry on with the attack, getting this wall opened up and push their way through into Piano. The shotgun still present for JJ.
Good progress so far from Guts. They've got that red wall open, so as you say, they can start thinking about taking control over Piano, but they've got to think about the smoke that is currently playing in that bar back storage. Oh, it's actually mute. A little bit difficult from the top down sometimes to pick out the different SAS operators, but it's going to be mute in there. He's on the secondary at the minute, so he's got the long angle challenge on the SMG. I can hear Des thinking he should have the MP5K. Des is a big proponent of that weapon, but mute. He's going to keep trying to hold that long angle. We know how capable Lazis is, so it's something that Talon are going to have to deal with, that and Soldier on the pixel spot as well. Piano is certainly not going to be free territory for them. They're trying to clear out that mirror window that's just, again, more utility thrown towards this Piano hold. You've got the mirror window there, you've got the Aruni gate next to it, you've got the challengers that can come in, but ultimately it's going to be light. He shuts down and takes away the first piece of that puzzle, Des. That's the mute gone from inside a bar back storage, so that allows Guts to get a bit more aggressive into Piano on towards pixel spot and the mirror window.
Beautiful. I mean, again, it's a good one for Guts to get themselves rolling forward. You mentioned those 4 rounds all came from opening kills in their fixture back in stage 2. So it's definitely a good start to be finding one in round number 3. It's all about this press forward, though. In the last round, they stalled out a little bit and had about 20 seconds, and they were forced to make a big push forward. That might turn out to be the same here, as JJ has now been shut out by Hedy on the other side. 4 versus 4, and a great swing coming out from Canos. Dips his way back into Freezer. Demic finding yet another. And for Guts, they've got to make something happen. It's a 2 versus 4. Euro winning 1. Does he win 2? Yes, he does. That's what you like to see from him. He's been quiet in the first 2 rounds, but 2 huge kills coming back. They know the mirror's now holding down inside a bathroom, and 1 playing off to the south in white, I believe, but they've got to try and get this plant down. It's Yura with it in hand. Yura and Meryu both 1 shot from death. It isn't going to take much, even with the UMP, to close this one out. They've got one coming down off towards the side by the looks of it on the rappel, going to swing his way in. They must know about this one, but Meryu's in a spot to try and go for the challenge from the north. But who's going to step up to him is the big question. C4 comes through. No one drops down. Sees one. There we go. He's down. Both are dead. That's all it was going to take, Ace, was 1 shot apiece, and they can close things out.
Hedy gets in there to disable that activated diffuser, and that is a successful top floor hold for Talon. Going very well so far. They've come back from that first round loss and now managed to find themselves with an advantage. They need to do well here on the defence. That's where they really stood out last time around to begin with. They managed to get themselves a 4-2 half on their defence, and if they can repeat that here, I'm sure that they're going to feel confident going into their attacking phase. But there's a lot of work to do before we get there. They're going to be heading back back down to the reading room site, which is, of course, the site that they lost first time around. They're going to have to do something a little bit different. But the thing for Guts here is I feel like they're on the back foot a little bit now. They're not going to get away with the same sort of play that they did last time, which was just forcing JJ into sight and trying to get that diffuser down. It worked out for them once. It's unlikely to happen a second time.
Look at the change, potentially what's coming in for their setups as well. Seeing the Maestro stepping in this round, which probably speaks volumes to the information gain they're looking for here. Valkyrie, as we know, always banned away on this map. No team really wanted to deal with it, and Pulse is returning as he did back in round number 1. So no mirror, but more of a committal towards the site. We saw where those 2 mirrors went, one up on the top floor, one out towards mining, and they were completely negated / ignored by the side of Guts. So if that utility isn't really doing the work for you, why not bring along those Evil Eyes to give you some more information around the site itself? That said, I imagine you're going to see these committed up towards the top floor, one on the pillar that we're very used to seeing, normally on the left-hand side pillar, admittedly, but you'll take it in terms of coverage that it gives across the whole site, because last time round it was Meryu that came charging in across bar, got the opening kill inside a cocktail, and that's what really got the round going for Guts around the 1:10 mark or so. So if they can stop him being able to get away with that through the information gain they've got, they can swing onto him, whatever it might be, that should slow the round down a little bit and give Talon more breathing room, because as we saw in the previous round, if you give them 10 seconds, if you go crouch walking through into sight, they're more than happy to take the crossfires and bring you down.
Here we go then. Action phase of round number 4. Guts, I feel like they need this one, Des. I feel like they really need it. They've had those opening kills still. They had it in round 3, and their train of good luck in terms of those entry frags has come to an end. Like got it last time, they were unable to close the round out, and this time I feel like if they lose this one, they're facing a kitchen defense next. You really start feeling like it's probably going to be 4-1, maybe even 5-1 on the half. You know, you're coming down to that 6th round then as to whether Guts can keep it at a 4-2. This is a really, really pivotal round. I know it doesn't seem it, being that it's only round 4. It's 2-1 in favour of Talon, but I just feel like Talon come away from this with a big advantage. And Guts, they need to find answers to these top floor roamers. They did well to clear them out last time. If you remember, they had very early top floor control. Doesn't look like they're pushing too much towards it this time. Yura is looking to actually go on a horizontal push here, pushing in towards mining. He's got support from Red Stairs as well, and they've done pretty well so far. Demic and Aziz have both been forced away from that side of the map, so that does allow Guts to start moving through. The top floor clearance is sort of starting to be looked at, but instead there's just a couple of air jabs getting put out. I think they're just trying to prevent the players on the top floor from flanking them, but the problem is when they come to try and put the diffuser down, they're going to have those vertical angles to deal with.
Well, the focus has been to take Red Stairs and move the way down mining, so not so much worried about a full top 4 clear. They're ignoring bar and basically trying to funnel in horizontally. So although the entry point safely is around red, and so often is for this map, regardless of the site that you attack, I like at least how they tried to mix things up here rather than going for drops like we saw in the previous round. It's going to be control of reading door once again that they're looking for, so a small adaptation and even trying to get this opened up now onto the reading wall so they can catch out a member or 2, and speaking of which, 2 fly their way. Light and Kanos getting on the board to start things off. A 5 versus 3 for Guts, and surely a round they can't lose.
5 versus 2 now as bodies just fall like dominoes. There's one after another. Yura picks up a couple, and it's now 1 versus 5. JJ straight in. Professional as always getting that diffuser down, but it is not going to be needed as Merio finds the last, and in what could have been a pivotal round for Guts there, they managed to do the business. Another successful attack onto reading. They shut it down, they level things up 2-2, and maybe just break that momentum that Talon was starting to build. It was a nice attack from them. Didn't worry too much about the top floor, just went in and got their kills.
The way that I looked at that really was that I think on the side of Talon they just did not expect that push. To have someone blitzing down onto red 90 because they cleared out the barbed wire, to have a couple pushing their way through onto reading and opening reading wall rather than trying to just push in through the single doorway like they did the previous time, it's almost like there was no adaptation from Talon to understand that Guts may try a different tack given how the previous round went. Good round from Guts. It gets the second one that you said they sorely needed about 3 minutes ago, as we now head back downstairs into kitchen, which we saw back in round 2. That one was a bit more of a, I suppose, more of a mistaken affair on the side of Guts. If you recall, they couldn't open the freezer wall. It was jammed off. They were forced instead to rotate through restaurant down towards the double doorway, leading into site, where Azzy was waiting in coat and picked up a 2K. So no doubt you're going to see more adaptation in this round. The question for me from Talon is, can you deal with that adaptation? You've seen Guts pull it off flawlessly in the previous round. Now's the time to make a change.
10 seconds left of the prep phase, setting up down in the kitchen, and not too much attention being paid to the vertical. We do have the hole opened up. It's pretty standard to stop the push into bakery prep, but there's nobody up there to play it at the minute, so I would expect to see some early action phase rotation from Talon, and that's what we've got. We've got one man now all the way up there on the top, one on the mid floor, and it is going to create a situation for Guts where they really need to be thinking about a top-down clearance, although recently, to be fair, we have seen those upper levels being ignored a little bit on kitchen defences and sort of just give up the vertical, don't play into those areas, don't try and play through bakery prep, for example. And a couple of teams have got away with it.
It's what the picks unlock as well. I mean, you're seeing it on your screen now as if at perfect timing. The Nomad being the big reason for that, right? You can edge off a couple of stairways and look to push your way forward. I think I want to say it was Fnatic, but it could have been an EU team on Monday. It all blurs into one after a while, Ace. We even saw Gridlock being brought along the other day as an option for teams to cut off those internal rotates. So we know at least in a region as aggressive as APAC as it can sometimes be, it really isn't going to sting you, but you still got this Vigil lurking around up on the top floor. Demic now starting to work his way back downstairs, realises no immediate challenge because that is going on elsewhere. Jura onto Soldier.
Getting the opener, but levelled up very, very quickly as Aziz managed to find one back onto Lily. So that is now 4 versus 4, and the Zofia off the board. Could be some important utility lost there. It's going to be some of the breaching charges, it's going to be the explosive grenades that she brings, so it's going to limit their ability somewhat to play those vertical angles if needs be, but they do still have the Hibana shotgun on side, so there is, of course, other options. Now, 4 of Talon, all back down to site. So at this point, halfway through the round, Guts do have control over the mid-floor. We've got drones racing around, just trying to confirm that that is actually the case before they start pushing forward and using those vertical angles. But for the time being, Yura's going to get aggressive, look to push downstairs. Will be spotted out at that point and thinks better of his push into VIP for the time being. Heads back upstairs to support the vertical efforts.
What I do like is they've wasted so much time with this roam as well. You know, 60 seconds on the top floor for the Vigil. It's only now about the 110 mark that we've seen Guts get control of this floor. Now, thankfully for them, a number of holes have already been opened by the side of Talon. The hatch and fireplace is already open, so they've got less to worry about than before, which means they can move with a bit more pace. But let's not forget again, they were almost out of time on this attack previously. So now they've really got to get a move on in these final 40 seconds, and that's what you're looking for. Another massive kill, this one onto Canos, and they can take control of Bakery from this and look to push their way in. Heady hits the deck, finds one, as another man swings in but won't be able to find him. 3 versus 3 ace and 25 seconds to play.
Great aggressive move from Heady, but it looks like it's going to be impactless as Mario and JJ get in, do the business light, finishes it off, and it is another round to Guts. They've managed to start chaining a couple together now. They got Reading, they got Kitchen, and it's looking like a tough option for Talon right now. Where do they go? Back up to the top floor? It's always a difficult site. They managed to close it out last time, but this time I would expect Guts coming along with a few extra ideas about how to get themselves inside of Piano. That was the big difficulty last time. They managed to clear the man out of barback storage, but getting too far beyond that was not an easy thing for them to do. So the final attacking round for Guts here, and you sort of feel Des like they're probably going to be happy with this half regardless. This last round feels almost like a little bit of a freebie for Guts. It's like, right, this is a bonus round now. Let's go in there. If we can get this and go 4-2, then yep, great. We only need to close down 2 sites on the defence to be sure that we are safe for overtime at least. It starts looking good for them, so I think they're going to be pretty keen on this one.
Look who steps in as well. Thunderbird coming onto the field. Seen that more and more this week, it feels like, as well. Playday 1, we were like, Thunderbird's available, let's see, let's go. And then we saw her pick like 3 rounds in total.
I mean, I'm glad to see it because this is one of the places that when you think of Thunderbird, you immediately think, in my mind, I immediately think of Pixel Spot. And our wonderful observer, without me even saying the word Pixel Spot, had already headed there because that is where you think of when you think about Thunderbird. It is somewhere that you barely want to move your feet. You just want to stand there and stay in position for as long as possible. Get one of those down there. This is another spot. If you're playing in Cigar, which it looks like they are, there's a lot of utility in there. There's the mute jammers, there's the ADSs. So they're likely going to have somebody played inside of Cigar, which is another standard setup. Get that Thunderbird corner station in there as a supplement to that defense, and it's going to make you a nightmare to move because every time that challenge comes in, every time that chip damage happens, you're going to get juiced up. that corner station's going to cool down again, and then you're going to get another shot, and you're going to get some more HP, and you can easily see it extending the length of time somebody can stay somewhere for 20, 30 seconds at least.
I wasn't a fan of Soldier going for this when you know that you want to try and go for a hold inside a Cigar. I mean, that shield's out quite late as well. I don't know, taking a challenge of that in back pocket makes me ask a couple of questions, but he is juiced back up. Fortunately, didn't take a headshot, of course, or that would have been guaranteed instant death. But now that he goes for this hold, I like, because it's similar to what we saw in the previous round on Kitchen. Although they lost the round, Talon were very keen to waste time for the side of Guts, and they're doing much the same here. Problem is, Yura is having one of those days, Ace, where he's just finding everything in this first half.
Oh, it's the second of those days for him, because he had a very good Playday one as well. And I'm glad to see it, because coming in there, I wouldn't go as far as saying called out, but I did mention Yura and his performance from stage 2, and I said that it is one of the players that Guts needs more from. There are kills in this man, and we can see that. 8 inside of 6 rounds, some impactful opening kills as well. He is going very well today, bringing the Iana, using her fantastically, and we want to see more of that, please, from Yura. So far, 5 versus 4. Guts with a good start here. Halfway through the round, they've got Cigar is cleared out now. That is gone. There's nobody playing inside of there. In fact, they've got boots on the ground. They've got a man established. They need to start thinking about Piano next, because Soldier, he could really spoil this party in a minute.
I'm really pleased that Mariu's playing well too. A player that had a good couple of games at the start of last stage and then really fell off the face of the earth and didn't do much for the rest. A name that many no doubt will be familiar with, but he's kind of this entry partner for Yura in this map. Back on the classic Ash, why not? It's their pace at points, I think, on the entry that's really catching Talon off guard. Another kill comes out, this time though going the way of Talon, as Mariu, the man we were speaking about, finds a trade. Another couple of kills fly through, and Guts have absolutely slammed Talon once again. Azzy, the last one left alive. Talon unable to hold a sight for love nor money, it feels like. Ace.
Great start from Guts this time around, and a very different performance to the one that we saw on Cafe between these two teams last time out. An absolute flip reversal of it, in fact, as he's getting slammed back down the stairs by that air jab there. The challenge comes in. He does manage to find one, gets hit a second time by an air jab. Come on, Guts, there are no excuses here. You know exactly where the man is coming from. It's 2 versus 1. Lily's getting that diffuser down, but if anybody's capable of this, we know that it's Aziz. He's had some big moments. Felt like he was looking for the rotate there, Des, but it's not in place. That has actually been reinforced up, so it left him stuck for challenging on the white corridor. I'm not sure if there was a little bit of a misstep from Talon there. It could be that he was just ducking back into cover, but it did look a lot to me like he looked towards that wall to potentially get himself into bar back storage and change his angle of attack, but it wasn't the setup that they had gone for. Loses his life near Lumber and is going to be shut down in round 6. Guts 4-2 on the half, and they're looking pretty good so far. I said it was kills they needed here on Cafe. That's what they were lacking last time, Des, and they have delivered.
This is always my main criticism of Talon. I said it in the back room earlier on. I think it was the Fresh I was talking to. I said the one big frustration with Talon is, as a team, they don't play awful Siege. Like, their ideas aren't bad. The big thing they struggle with, in my mind at least, is having players that are able to stand up and compete when it comes to fragging. Like, it's not often that you see them go absolutely nuclear. I think back in stage 1, Azzy played really well. Soldier was pretty good last stage, but also had some stinkers. Outside of that, who's really going to go huge for them on the regular? It's where I feel they're kind of lacking a bit as a team at the minute, because again, they're finding these situations where 2 minutes have been burnt, it's a 3 versus 3, Guts are starting to panic and put the pressure on, and Talon just lose every gunfight in the mid-round. And I think outside of that, they've done okay. It's frustrating for them, but also great to see that Guts, with Yura and Mariu playing on this strong entry duo, are doing such a good job. You might now see the roles change around a little bit, by the way. Mariu could go a bit more defensive here. Yura and Lily, the ones that we expect to see out on the roam looking to cause some trouble.
Interesting to see that the age of the Hibana shotgun is over, Des. Hedy has gone for the more usual pick, coming in with the rifle. I mean, JJ got himself 3 kills. I mean,
it's not about the kills.
Two were in the first round. But as you say, it's not really about the kills. It's what else he was doing, and it's going to be fascinating to have a look back over when we can pour over that in a little bit more detail and just see maybe what angles were opened up. What did he do with that shotgun? You know, that's what I want to know. That's
all about the vertical rotates, time and time again. I get it again, because they didn't bring a buck, they didn't bring a sledge, whereas on Talon's side, they're going for the much more tried, tested and established pick of bringing along one of those operators. In this case, it's it's going to be the Sledge. A few breaching rounds on the side of the Zofia. So they have got a backup option here, but really Demet needs to keep himself alive and be the one doing the vertical work when it is required. On this site, at least, it's going to be more about those nades, though they have got 4. This almost is a fairly standard lineup to what you'll often see on maps like Cafe these days.
First minute in, then we don't have an opening kill just as of yet. Guts have been going very well in the entry stakes. Actually 5-1 at the minute, Des. Absolutely dominating those early round gun battles, and I'm sure they're going to be looking to continue that here now then. Interestingly, we've got Lily all the way down, and don't forget Aruni has got that one-punch barricade capability, so could well fly out of there at a moment's notice if anybody is picked up on the rappel. And there is one at the minute. Aziz is looking towards that white door, just looking to cover. I think they're aware of Lily downstairs, but not exactly where. And if Aziz decides it's time to get up onto that south side rappel, it could be the last thing that he does.
I find it interesting he's running the MK14, by the way. Everyone's kind of screaming about how good the Roni is right now, and then here you've got an Aruni running around with the MK14. And hey, if that's your point of confidence, if that's going to help you if that's what's going to get your first kill of the game, no complaints there about that one at all. It's been a very slow start, though, Ace. For 2 minutes in, this is going to be one of the slowest opening duels that we're going to see at all in this game, because it's taken 2 minutes and they're still trying to get control of Piano. They haven't dealt with the mirror. There's walls open up to make it even tougher, so much so they've now pushed on this south window. First one gets C4'd off, and it's Soldiers to fall.
Honestly, I think that they've spent too long worrying about that Aruni on bottom floor. We saw Aziz watching the white door. We've seen the man get off the rappel and watch that bakery door for 20 seconds. It just feels like everything else has been tentative because they're so worried about that run out, but they've done nothing to directly challenge it. They haven't got themselves into the bottom floor then. Right, let's go and find the kill. Let's get it cleared out and not worry about it. That's not something that they've gone for now. Talon have got themselves established in Cigar. 20 seconds left to go, but in a 5 versus 3, you got to say this is going to be difficult as men continue to drop. 4 versus 1, they won't mind that change. Light manages to find the final kill. Guts, they absolutely steamroller their way through their first defence, I think it's fair to say. 5-2 now on the board. Guts need only one more round to guarantee themselves the overtime.
There's only really one way to describe that attack, and it is poor coming out of Talon, to be completely honest with you. In a spot where you know what you've got to deal with. You do exactly the same hold yourself, where you open up half of storage, you open up half of bathroom, you stick a mirror there, a Rooney, a laser gate on the wall, 2 ADSs. It's not like it's, foreign to them. They've seen it and played it themselves just earlier, but they never get inside a piano. They're never really quite sure where to push. They rotate over to white and go, got C4, got to change around again. And then at the final 30-second mark, it's what we often speak about with teams that run out of time is, well, let's just try and brute force our way into bar and end up with 4 players still left alive on the side of Guts. They were out of ideas in that round, Ace, weren't quite sure what to do. That needs to change, or this game will be over 7-2, 7-3.
Certainly will. It's going to run away from them very quickly if they're not careful, like you say. I mean, for me, they're... we look back at that round and just so tentative about that roam clearance. I know it's not something you expect to normally have to do on a top floor hold, but it's not uncommon either to have players, particularly on that mid floor, looking for the C4 denial, looking to play underneath, and sometimes you just got to get in there. You've got one player on the Aruni downstairs alone. That should be very easy to cut off, especially if you find them inside a bakery. That should be easy to get cut off. Send one in from either side, create a pinch, worst comes to worst, you lose one man, you get the trade, you've dealt with the roam, you still got the kill, you get yourself aggressing towards site without having to worry about it. But instead, it just felt like they watched those run-outs for a minute 30 plus and just wasted too much time for themselves and left themselves exposed in the late round. But now Guts are going to be heading down to Kitchen. If they can lock this one down, it will guarantee them overtime as an absolute worst. And the way things are going, everything is just flowing in the direction of Guts right now.
It's got to be some kind of miracle comeback for sure. Guts not really being stretched so far in the defence. We have only seen that one round. Let's give it a couple more. We'll see how things start to shape up then. This one, at least, with a few of these rotate holes being open. One into Bakery, one up towards Red. The Red one, very common. Bakery, not always. You'll see it completely reinforced off. But it just says to me something about the confidence they've got here in this hold, suggesting arguably they want to play with the clash inside of Bakery and look to slow down the push coming in. They've got the Rook on side, something we don't see all that often coming out of Guts. Just overall a very stacked up defence there, I say, with all the extra HP you get, of course, coming out of the rook, plus the fact that it's a clash. This is a great way to make Talon panic, I think, and again, go back to last round, rotate between going to red, then rotate down to piano, then think about going through white, then back to go for the drop onto red. A good way to confuse them and keep them asking questions throughout the entire round.
Certainly is. We've got one heading up towards the rooftop, so that would suggest that Talon are going to be going for that full clearance, which they opted not to do last time in reverse, moving from bottom floor up, and it left them a little bit of a problem knowing that there was somebody hanging around. So this time they're going to get up there. We've got Demic, we've got Soldier. They're going to be the two particularly on the sledge, and the Iana looking to get in. Clear top floor, clear mid floor, and then Demic on the sledge is going to open those vertical angles and try and get those defenders moving around in sight. Now, as it goes for Guts, the majority, if not all of them, 5 are down on the bottom floor. So it needs to be quick from Talon here, Des. There's absolutely no reason for them to be hanging around. They just need to get on with this, recognise that it's free real estate, get in there and start opening those angles.
My metric is always 1 minute 30. That's when the first hammer needs to be swung on the second floor to start opening up the angles you need onto the ground floor. If it's taking any longer than that, you're behind the curve. Most teams, and in fact you see it almost by the clock in EUL, by about that 1:30 mark, they are swinging hammers, and Demic's a few seconds behind, but will start doing just that now. So they've got themselves the clear, they've got the information, they've got the flank watch set up, they've got the air jabs down, everything they need to try and make this as secure as possible. They get hit on the flank now, there's going to be some blame going around, I guarantee you of that much.
Oh, there's certainly going to be fingers pointed, and you've got to feel like they probably should be at that point, because there is no excuse for it now. Looking for those vertical angles, just looking to ping out. I'm not sure exactly what he's trying to ping out. Maybe a position, maybe a little bit of utility that needs clearing, but there isn't a man actually playing underneath in that position for the time being. Now, out goes the nade. That's going to allow the freezer hatch to be opened, which would signal that that is where the final push is likely to come from. Drop down that freezer hatch and try and get yourself just inside of the door behind the bomb chassis to get the diffuser down. But they could really do with some kills beforehand, because if not, it just becomes one big crossfire. It just becomes bullets flying everywhere, and that is a great start. Bullets flying straight into light as Aziz managed to find that opening kill. 5 versus 4, 30 seconds left.
That's the first one. They've done everything by the book so far, but the problem is the clock. They haven't found the big kill from above they were looking for to really get this round rolling. No bakery control. And again, Ace, they've changed their mind seemingly at the last second. There are 2 of them pushing in here. You've got a clash to come up against. There's 15 seconds on the clock. Soldier finds one, now got to force their way in through prep, and here comes the drop down through freezer. The question is whether they find kills or die. They find one. It's a 4 versus 2, but the clock waits for no one. There's 2 left alive with the plant going down, coming for the spray. Find it. I believe the plant's coming down out towards the other side of the site, so this one should get completed. They've managed to make it work in the dying seconds and get it over the finish line, but honestly, Ace, at 30 seconds, I thought this round was done.
It was messy, you know, that much is fair to say. That diffuser going down was in the very nick of time there at the end, and there was a few challengers that were deep into that kitchen that could have gone a different way on a different day. But ultimately, Talon, they get the round and they keep themselves fighting, and more importantly, they get Guts out of that winning habit. And Guts now are going to head to reading room. They're not going to double down on kitchen. They're going to try and mix things up. We haven't seen them defend there yet. They've had a successful defense on bar and an unsuccessful defense on kitchen. So we'll see if they can go to reading. A win here would be really big for them, because then it means on another rotation of these sites, all they need to do is pick up one of those successful sites again. But Talon, maybe they've just got that momentum back. Maybe the switch has flicked and they can get in there and start winning some of those important gunfights.
I don't know. That last round wasn't convincing to me.
Still messy. It was still messy.
It was. I mean, they got the one opening kill with Azzy, which is great, but it didn't really come from a result of all the work they'd done on the upstairs, and I thought they were looking for maybe 1 or 2 more. Maybe you'd see some nades come raining down to try and collect a kill onto a stationary player or 2. That just didn't materialise for them. And again, I'll hold to this. Really, the clash there should have been doing the work to hold them back inside a freezer. But the fact they lost the one man supporting him suggests they weren't aware of that drop coming through. Maybe the push into bakery made them think, oh, okay, they're coming from that side of the map at the last second. They did this in the last round. Maybe they'll do the same thing again. And it was just a split attack coming out of the side of Talon. So quite smart, but for Guts, I think just being caught a little off guard. Either way, not convinced yet. They need a couple of good rounds in them, I think. Really convincing attacks to show they can get this to at least overtime. Because I don't see Guts not winning a round in the next 3. They will win something.
I'd be very, very surprised. I completely agree with you there, Des. I think the best that Talon can hope for at this stage would be overtime. But it's stranger things have happened at sea, and we've seen them, we've cast them, we've been there, and you never, ever know. And that is the beauty of Siege. You just get these moments where the whole game flips on its head, and all of a sudden Talon become unbeatable. But there is a round or two left yet before we start considering that prospect, I think. Now, Aziz has got the air jab out on the wall there, so he's not going to have anybody jumping out, running out on him. It's got himself up safely to the rooftop now. There was obviously some information there, maybe some concern that could be the case, and here's your answer. He's going to go back onto the rappel along with a second man, so that is why they are doubling down on trying to keep this area safe.
It's always more of the same as well, getting the flanks watched, set up with the air jabs, then looking to go for your push in. Now, they've really stalled out in trying to push into Piano last time, so I like at the very least that the Guts have said, well, we know they struggle with this, so let's make them suffer a little bit more. Let's commit some players up there. Let's take a shield. Let's get a bunch of reinforcements up there, electrify the wall. They've really gone hell for leather in saying we want to hold this extended hold, even if it is quite far out. Most teams sit a little bit further back inside a Cocktail, and Yura, acknowledging that maybe his pushes look a little bit too much here, will back himself away. The question is whether the side of Talon realise this, because there's no drones pushing in. They're still investing utility into a player that has long left. 10 seconds ago, he was out of here. They've now burnt through 2 minutes, don't have top floor control. It's another slow round, Ace.
Just lost some X-Kairos pellets on that Piano wall as well. I'm not sure if the electrical came on afterwards or not. It'd be a strange one for them to try and apply them whilst the electricity was still there, but they're having no choice but to go route one and try and move around the back here. Surely the call came. No, Light was completely unaware. How has Canos got away with that? He gets a kill onto White Stairs, Des, and then the man in barback storage is completely unaware that he may be challenged from behind on the lumber rotate. That is almost unforgivable. The comms have got to come in to say he's pushing top White, and you've got to know that that could happen, but even though Canos still gets the kill, out comes the Nitro. That's big as Lily brings it back to a 1 versus 1. 20 seconds left to go. Soldier does have Diffuser in hand, but he knows that he can't risk putting it down. He needs to find this kill here. There will come a point where he has to, and that is exactly what he's going to do now. Does he bait it out, or do pros fake Des? Is he going to stick that? He's looking to stick it. No, he comes off. There's the challenge. Can he get the kill? Absolutely not. Lily takes him down to a fraction. There's the push. There's the kill. There's the round that we knew that Guts were likely to get. Guaranteed overtime for them. And they can start getting back to those sites that they've won as well. It's going to no doubt be back up to the top floor. They won it in round 7. Can they do it again and close this one out against Talon?
You sound like someone who just ran into your living room and nicked your plasma inch TV right in front of you or something, mate. You were just like how on earth has that happened?
I don't understand how Talon have lost that.
I mean, it does worry you when a player can run through and there's no call
Canos gets away with the top floor triple. That was ridiculous. I'm sorry. If there's a kill from Lumber onto White Stairs and the player's still got his back to... And the thing is, I know that the mute was probably being challenged from Cigar. I know it's not easy, but that is a room that you can dip away from that angle. It's only a single door. You can dip. You know that the push is going to come from the rotate, and he's led prone and gets shot in the back. You know, you can't give up 3 kills like that. But at the same time, they got it over the line, and that's what it comes down to. But I think it feels more like it was a Talon loss that round than it was a Guts win.
Yeah, I think massive to throw away when you've got a triple kill already on the top floor up there. I mean, C4 was great. It comes down to a 1 versus 1. It's unfortunate. One of those they'll look back on a route if this next round goes against them, because it would be 7-3 to Guts, and of course the match at that point would be concluded. Guts taking all 3 points. It's going to be this hole coming out inside of Cigar. We saw a similar thing coming out of Talon in their final defensive round with the Ella that you may remember was trying to spawn, well, not spawn peek, but hatch peek with a shield still in back pocket. This one a much more conventional setup coming out of the side of Guts. We saw this a lot last stage where you have the mirror, the castle, the Aruni, the same on the south window. It essentially gives 4 layers of utility that you have to burn through as the attackers, and then you've got to deal with things like the ADSs, the mute jammers, the man behind the shield inside of Cigar itself against a team like Talon that is really struggling with the time. This is a really smart setup in my opinion.
Yeah, it's certainly going to burn a lot of those seconds. They're going to help them find their way towards this 7th and final round that Guts need to get this one locked down. And it'll be a big 3 points for Guts, will this. Talon are always going to be one of their close rivals, you would expect, in terms of those final standings. And picking up a nice 3 points against them, I'm sure, will be very sweet for Guts. Light is playing very aggressive on the hatch here. He gets himself a drone and no more, as he's going to head into Cigar to play behind that shield.
It's smart aggression, because because you know it's unlikely someone is going to just dry peek on the hatch and hope for the best. They will send a drone in first, collects a freebie, backs away. Really smart play coming out from him. You see it on a lot of other maps, just not quite peeking hatches, it's more holding at the top of stairway. Think, for example, big tower stairs or rear stairs on Oregon. Jaeger will peek on the top of that, kill a drone, back away down to site. It's free intel, destroyal on the side, or destroyance of the side.
Destruction. Destruction is the one that you're looking for, Des.
Destroyal. What was the other word I said?
Destroyance.
Destroy it. That's a nice word, though. Even if it's not a real one,
I
it's a
quite
nice
like
word.
that one. We're going to stick with that one. Let's see if we've got some more destroyance coming up from Guts here, as they're going to try to finish this one off.
Oh, how'd you whiff that? He missed the door.
It misses the door. That's not ideal, it's fair to say. The castle barricade stays in place. They're going to clear out that runic gate. And the next concussive, the next impact grenade from the Zofia gets picked up by the ADS. And that is 0 left at this point. So that castle barricade, Des, it might just be staying in place. And that could be the moment that Talon lose the game. JJ finds the opener onto Demic, and things are not getting any easier, because guess what? That's the sledge. Another option to open that castle barricade, Des. It looks like Cigar is going to be staying put for now.
How many bits of utility can you whip in one spot? It's unbelievable. JJ finds 2 and Canos will finally trade him out. It's something. But again, we're against the clock. 4 versus 3 and 35 seconds to play. That's not a lot of time, Talon. We spoke about this all game long, and they're now going to be forced to go for some undesirable pushes. Dropping straight, for example, and pushing in without any kind of information. They've still got 4 drones on the board, 1 in back pocket for Azzy. Why that isn't out on the map, you'll be asking questions. It's all these small things throughout the game that has cost him so far. Heady's going to try his very best to make something happen on the East Rappel, but there's a man who's maybe thinking about a jump out here if he dares hold this for too long. Lily wins a wonderful shot against Canos, and the jump out is primed. Not that he needs it. There's 5 seconds to play with. Guts should close this one out here and now. A 7-3 victory over Talon and revenge for stage 2.
That is the race run. Guts pick up the final kill. It will be Lily to seal the deal. And they come in with a solid victory against Talon, picking themselves up 3 points. And they are going pretty well here. They're finding those kills that I questioned before Playday 1. That's what I like to see. Yura coming out, Merio stepping up. This is what Guts needed, and they are looking like a different beast.
2 players we spoke about as well on the side of Talon, both at the bottom on 5 kills. Azzy, Soldier, was not the performance we needed from them. It was not anything like the Stage 2 game that we saw coming out. For Guts, it's another good game. Last week, better than Fab. This week, better than Talon. You haven't necessarily got to always beat the top 3, because that 4th place spot is the one that we're all wondering who's going to fill it at the end of the stage. And if Guts carry on, it could end up being them. Let's go over to the desk and get their thoughts on how this game played out.